TV. A very warm welcome to our viewers watching on the live broadcast and also on the replay. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline Heward and known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. Our show today is Talking Heads, and I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is separation harder than divorce? And it's part of the Mind and Body Connection series. So let's begin. I'm going to start off with a quote by David Whyte, and this will really set the scene for our topic today. You will always love the person if you're sensible, but you get a lot of people, especially in divorces and separations, doing a lot of damage to themselves because they can't figure out how they actually still love this person, but not in their original way. David Whyte. This is a really integral part of this conversation, because when you get married, when you decide to be with somebody and you take your vows, especially if you've got married to them, then you never really plan for having a divorce or a separation. And you are getting married or entering into that relationship because this is the person that you want to spend forever with. So we don't enter into the conversation and the experience with the end in mind. So is separation harder than divorce? Well, all sorts of words come up: custody, marriage, the ending, children, and relocation, or dissolving a relationship that was, court, lawyers, and it all can be quite overwhelming when really something's happened in terms of the emotion of that relationship. Something's happened in terms of the way that you both connect or disconnect with each other. And so there is a process when things stop working to move forward into a new life, a different life without the person. And in the same time as that these things come up that you have to consider and think about, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very, there's a word that comes to mind straight away now, and it's called discombobulating. And essentially it's where you feel that it's all too much. It can put you in overwhelm and it can take you off your ground and the way that you would normally operate. And it will take you out of an experience of feeling in control, because there's so many other things to think about when you are in that relationship and not feeling that you want to stay in it. So separation sometimes is the precursor to deciding whether you're going to divorce. And it's the first place that most people will enter into in a conversation, not only with themselves, but with their partner. And the reason for that is because sometimes people feel that if you have some time apart, it will give you time to consider, to work out, to have space to decide whether it is right for you to stay in that relationship or not. And sometimes the very opportunity of saying it's not working for me anymore, I'm not happy anymore, and I want to leave, can be a huge weight off your shoulder. But at the same time, it can leave you feeling, whoa, overwhelmed at what next? What do I do? And sometimes it's so overwhelmingly painful because you're leaving what you knew, what you know, and even though it's not comfortable, you're leaving something that is uncomfortable, and at the same time not knowing what's on the other side of that place of being uncomfortable, because there's all sorts of things to consider, especially if you have children. And especially if you've got property together, if you have a house together, assets together, all of these things come into the equation of making a decision. Separation, divorce. Divorce is very final. It's the place where you're saying, that's it, no more, I'm done. And then when you get to that place, there is all the considerations of what a divorce means. So sometimes separation can be the softer option before you take those bigger, gigantic steps in terms of making it a legal separation, in terms of a divorce. So there are many mitigating experiences and circumstances that will make you decide whether separation or divorce. There is no easy way to answer this, because what we're going to handle and look at is the emotions as well as the practical stuff behind whether separation or divorce. Let's look at some stages of separation. The first stage of separation is very like a bereavement, where somebody physically passes away, and that's denial. Because nobody wants to admit that it's not working anymore, that it's all fallen apart. And nobody wants to admit that they're not happy anymore, because it's not what you entered into. You didn't enter into a relationship looking at the end in mind. So there is a denial. And certainly when my marriage was really not working for a number of years, I was in a huge amount of external denial, because I didn't want to look silly. I didn't want to look like I had failed. And this is one of the things that comes up for many people, that sometimes it will look good to the external world and to friends and family, but internally, you know it's not working. So denial is the first stage of moving towards a place of separation. From that denial, anger comes up, because you know you didn't enter into this experience of this relationship to separate, to finish it. You entered into it for much more positive reasons of love, of spending your time together and your life together. So you can sometimes feel very angry about the fact that it's not what you wanted. It's not the experience that you signed up for. And when you move through that anger, it leads into a space of feeling empty, a feeling that your cup is just not full anymore, which moves into a place of depression, a shutdown of feelings and emotions. Because when things aren't working and it's hard and it's difficult, we tend to shut down the feelings and emotions because it's hard, it's difficult to feel. And so you move into a place of depression. And then the final stage of separation, and we're not talking about divorce here, is accepting the fact it's over. Accepting the fact that there is no way forward for you or your partner to move forward and stay in that relationship. And when you get to that place, and it can take whatever time it can take 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. It can take 10 years, 5 years. It depends on you as a person and the couple and what there is in terms of collateral damage. Because if there are children involved, many couples, whether they're married or living together for a long period of time, many, many years, there is a situation where some people will stay together because of the children. I have no axe to grind if people do that. The challenge that happens is the children then start to feel an experience of what not to stay or get married for. Because if the parents are always arguing with each other, and there is an atmosphere and there is obviously a non-love or an unlove and a hurt within the relationship, this is what the children start to grow up with and recognize as marriage. And certainly that will create in their lives a challenge in terms of moving forward to decide to be in a relationship of any description. So ending your relationship, separation or divorce. So we're looking at the main aspects of why you would choose a separation versus divorce, and what are the implications of both. For both separation and divorce, there is closure. There is a way of ending the hurt, a way of ending what's not working. And so closure is a very grown-up way of moving forward. It's a very grown-up way of saying, hey, we looked at this, we had a go, we gave it our best shot. This is not working. Because when you're together in a relationship, sometimes people will have an external experience of how they're being and showing up in the world. And then they also have an internal representation of how they show up with themselves and in their own home and domain and in their relationship. So there might be the life and soul of the party externally, but internally they might be quite an introvert. And so when you meet the person from the perspective of that social environment and meeting somebody in that neutral place of not being and living with them, then you might be seeing and experiencing a very different person to the one that you end up in a relationship with, that you end up living with. And so if it's not what you signed up to, then it's very challenging for many to close it or to say, hey, I got that wrong. This isn't what I thought it was. This isn't what I signed up to. And that takes a lot of courage to say, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't working for me. And when you do utter those words, it's not working. It then takes you into the stage of closure, of moving forward out of the relationship that stopped working for you. And there isn't a right or wrong here. There is only what's right for you as the person, and saying, this is not working, I'm not happy, therefore I want to make it end so that I feel happier in myself and in my life. This is where the feelings come in. In either separation or divorce, there are feelings that have to be dealt with. And if you are going through a divorce, in a divorce situation, it is less about the feelings and more about the practicals. It's more about, I always liken a divorce to a balance sheet. It is the inputs and outputs, the debits and credits, and it's the balance sheet of the marriage. And I think that it's a very interesting way to look at it, because that's what the courts do. They separate it all out. Who has the dog, who has the access, when they have the access, and obviously the assets and liabilities, and who pays what, and who pays the bills. And then it's all agreed in some form of a legal memorandum, depending on what country that you come from. And feelings aren't in that legal bit. They are in the experience of leaving the relationship and what it brings up for you. And it's important to express how you feel, because it is quite a cold experience to go through a divorce. But it is a finality. It gives you a finality of absolute closure. Whereas a separation will still have some hanging fruit for you to work through, because a separation is also a way that you can move back into the relationship if you choose. And sometimes some people choose to stay in a separation for long periods of time without having to get a divorce, because they feel comfortable not to have to go through the legalities of sorting things out. Either way, whether you separate or divorce, you still have to consider the financial implications, especially if it's a long-term separation, because you've left the family home or you've not left the family home. One person might leave the family home, or indeed you might both choose to stay together in the family home and then have all hell break loose, because it's very hard to stay with somebody in the same home and experiencing the same experiences of hurt and pain. So what is the best? It's very dependent on you. We're all individuals, and I have known of some couples that have separated and yet still share the same home, although that's very challenging, I do hear for some friends that I have that it seems to be working for them, and they seem to be able to find a way of moving on because the finances are difficult for them to continue in a separate way in terms of family home, and so they tend to stay together. It's, I feel, very challenging for the man to move out of the home because usually, especially if there's children, the law, especially in the UK, is very much along the side of making sure that the woman and her children are looked after. And usually the woman and her children have the right to stay in the family home. And then that leaves a situation for the man to have to still fund the family bills and the maintenance for the children, as well as finding accommodation for himself. So it depends on ending your relationship, separation or divorce. It depends on your personal circumstances, which is why I've been going through some of the practical things of what can come up before you decide whether separation or divorce is the right way for you. And whether it's harder, because when there are children involved, it's hard whether you're in a legal marriage or whether you are in a relationship that you've been in for a long time. If you've been with somebody for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes it's a revelation to come out of that situation and decide that you don't want to be there anymore. And sometimes it's very challenging to look at how life can be possible without being in that relationship, even though it wasn't working and you were very unhappy. I've heard people say that the challenge of staying in a relationship that doesn't work changes them. It changes their personality. It changes their outlook on life, and it changes the way they feel. They almost shut down and become disconnected and move into what I would call a habit. They move into a place where they're going through the motions without the emotion and just moving through their daily lives without actually experiencing life, almost like you're existing rather than experiencing the joys that life brings to you. And nobody wants to live like that. And yet at times, this is the only way that's possible when there are children involved or when the finances are difficult. Sometimes people opt for this type of relationship, of living and existing, because it's easier. And usually that is surrounded by fear. Now, fear is a root chakra saboteur. I mean, fear is false evidence appearing real. And when the person can't imagine what it's like on the other side of the upset, of the hurt, of the demise they feel themselves in, they stay in that experience until they have the courage to move through it and find an alternative way forward that is without the relationship. And of course, this leads us very on to a place of healing, whether you stay in the marriage, the relationship, or whether you decide to leave through separation or divorce. There has to be a place for healing. There has to be a place for your personal healing, for the relationship healing, and also for the healing of the trauma that came out of the situation of being in that relationship. Sometimes we think we should be with someone forever because that's what we sign up to. There isn't, for some, a forever or a happy ending. And even though in fairy tales they always talk about happy ever after, or this is my lifetime partner, sometimes it doesn't work. And that doesn't make you wrong. That makes you strong. That makes you brave to face up to the fact that sometimes there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's okay if you get to the point of the end, because there is life after separation and after divorce. And it depends on the implications that's right for you. And everybody's story is personal. There is no right and wrong. I know many people that have gone through very acrimonious divorces, And I know many people that have done really well through mediation, and I've been one of those people, even though it was very challenging, because the mediation wasn't about the feelings and emotions. It was really about the practicals, about the balance sheet. And I found it really conflicting for me because I had no idea a divorce was a balance sheet. It was inputs, outputs, and it was a disclosure. It was a complete disclosure of the finances and a complete disclosure of the paperwork. Now, that might be different in different countries, but certainly in England, that's what I experienced, and it took the emotion out of it. And when we went through that practical space, and I got the decree absolute through, it felt like a revival of me, of moving forward. I actually had a divorce party rather than, sort of feeling all melancholy, which is, I know, very American. So there is no rights and wrongs here. But there is a healing journey, whether you decide to stay in a state of separation or you decide to end everything legally with a divorce. There is no right and wrong for anyone. There is a personal circumstance and what's right for you. A separation might be the answer, and divorce might be your answer, but you're the one that decides. There isn't anyone else that can make that decision for you. But when you are in that place of deciding to separate, to move out of the family home, or indeed to end that relationship that is known to you, that is comfortable for you, that even through the uncomfortableness and the hurt of that separation and or divorce, what happens is a place of, what will I do differently next time? What have I learned from this experience? Who am I? What am I doing here? What do I want out of life? And in that place of separation and divorce, of literally leaving that relationship, it can be the making of you rather than the breaking of you. It can be where you can explore your true self and the true meaning of who you are meant to be in this world and who you are meant to be with. Because when you're in a relationship that doesn't work, it takes a lot of strength and courage to say, I need to end this and move into something else. And the first relationship is with self. That's the very first relationship that anyone should be entering into. And that relationship with self extends to the other person. Here's a quote by Laura Wasser. Once you do embark upon the separation or divorce process, it is very important to remember 3 key things. Be kind, be reasonable, be brief. Remember that this person will no longer be your spouse, but he or she will continue to be your co-parent, family member, and perhaps business partner in certain assets or entities. I feel that this is an extraordinary piece of advice to leave you with. Be kind. One of the things that I did was I killed my ex-husband, or my soon-to-be ex-husband at that point, with kindness. And that kindness that I gave to him, I actually gave to myself, even though it was a very challenging situation to be in. I felt that in giving kindness and compassion to him, I actually was feeding myself, and I was healing myself through the pain, even though it was a challenging experience. The anger, the resentment, the lack of empathy and understanding of the fact that it had ended was my healing journey, as well as my then husband's healing journey. And so consider it's a personal healing journey. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all of our Talking Heads episodes under the playlist Talking Heads 2022 for last year and 2022 for this year. You'll find all of my Talking Heads episodes under my name, Caroline Heward. please do reach out to me if I may be of that service to you. You can contact me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or indeed you can call me on +44 if you're international, 7523 if you're local, 07523 120 189. I offer a free 30-minute Zoom, Skype, Messenger, audio, video consultation. It will help you find some order, because the first place you have to start is a place of inner healing. The first relationship is self, and everything else expands from that. It has been my absolute pleasure to deliver this, which is not the end, it's the beginning of your exploration. I offer more insights in other programs and other broadcasts that I do. Thank you so much. It has been my absolute pleasure. Namaste.
Howdy, all y'all. This is Red O'Loughlin on the USA Global TV and Radio Network and on the E360 TV network. We're finishing up an 8-part series on pain management. We're concentrating today primarily on pain prevention, something that most people never think about. But let me get my slide set up here quickly so we can get started. There we go. As a disclaimer, I'm not a medical person, never been in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm a researcher. I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. I fell in love with chemistry about 15 years of age. I think I was a 14, 15 sophomore in high school and took a chemistry course. I just absolutely loved it. Got a degree in it and then got an invitation to Vietnam, so I never got a chance to practice it. About 10 years ago, my wife came down with breast cancer. And as a caregiver, I started looking into the side effects of the drugs she was taking and what can I do as a caregiver to help. And I found just a new world that if you start looking at the human body, there's lots of things going on. And if you understand that this causes that, and that causes that, and that causes that. But if I stop that from happening, this doesn't happen down there. There's a lot of things we have. And when we're talking here about pain, pain, like weight, like a number of different things, is all individual. The same person, the same pain stimulus is going to affect two people differently. So the responses are going to vary, but all in all, pain is a complex physiological and psychological experience that serves as a protective mechanism and alerts the body of any potential harm or damage. If we didn't have that instant feedback to say, stop doing what you're doing, we could end up in some serious problems. So, but the definition of pain has been one that's been very difficult to identify. And over time, they've decided they really need to bring in both the physiological and the psychological, because both have an effect. So let's talk about pain prevention. What is it? I'm talking primarily in the non-drug treatment things. I want pain where it's not going to restrict me from doing whatever I want to do physically. I want something that works well for everyone, and literally something that can start today. Part of our overall project here at the USA Global TV and Radio Network and E360 TV network is that we want to provide awareness. That's the first basic understanding level of whatever topic we happen to have. And from that awareness level, provide education that people can research on their own, but really be able to go out and talk to their doctor, to their medical professional, with a better understanding of what might be the cause, what could be an answer or solution, and what options you really have. So if you understand it from that perspective, sometimes you go there, oh, doctor, this hurts. But, well, if you don't know all the other details coming in, we don't know how to treat you. Okay. If I look at pain prevention, I say, what do you do to prevent a car wreck? So if I'm having a conversation, say with Dr. Jacqueline, and we are sitting there back and forth, and she says, well, I could have regular checkups to make my car safe. Well, regular maintenance. Let's just keep everything going. One of the big ones is awareness of your surroundings. If it's raining like crazy outside and stuff blowing across the freeway and other cars out of control, awareness, situational awareness is a major, major process. Being careful, if you're doing 80 miles an hour. I just happened to find an 80-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on Interstate 10 in Texas last weekend. Kind of surprised me. 75 is the standard, but and 85 in one part of Texas is a posted limit, but 80 kind of surprised me. But if I'm doing 80, I don't want to be the same distance behind the car in front of me as if I'm doing 35. And also, if I'm going to prevent a car wreck, I want to plan effectively. And so those are things, if I take that same rationale that I want to prevent a car wreck from happening, and I say, how can I prevent pain? Well, let's look at that. So if I maintain a healthy diet, in other words, balanced nutrition, caloric restriction, the things that I need to get the 32 minimum daily requirements from a nutrient perspective, that's what I need on a regular basis. I'm not going to have situations develop, disease develop, because I'm low in, say, vitamin B12, which can mimic Alzheimer's down the road, or I'm low in electrolytes, which can cause heart issues, or I'm low in some other mineral or vitamin or enzyme or whatever it may happen to be. So maintaining a healthy diet is absolutely, if I'm going to prevent pain from happening, why take a chance on creating an environment in my body that I would promote pain? I don't want to do that. So a healthy diet, I think, is absolutely number one. And if you're going to have a healthy diet, it has to be balanced from a nutritional perspective. Regular exercise. Again, a lot of us have changed our exercise profiles over the years. What we used to do as a teenage years, our 20s, our 30s, et cetera, by the time you get your 50s, 60s, it's not near the same. And we start seeing issues. But it's just not exercise. It can be something as simple as walking, if we haven't done exercise in a while. Strength training is extremely important. Cardiovascular training is a must. But we need balance. We need stretching. We need flexibility. We need our endorphins being released, because that, again, is kind of plays down that level of pain perception when you have the endorphins there. The sleep part of our lives is something that we've really never paid much attention to. Some of us sleep so well, others just seem to be never in good sleep. And there's lots of reasons why. Let's say you have a couple, 3 glasses of wine just before you go to bed. Wine is an alcohol. It's treated by the body as a poison, as a toxin. And unless the body gets rid of it, it's not going to go to sleep. So you go to sleep, you may have a little bit of that just good, happy feeling from drinking a lot. And at 2:07 in the morning, you wake up bright-eyed. Well, your body has finished processing all the alcohol. Now it's ready to get back to the digestive process. And so you're disrupting your sleep. If you have a major meal an hour before you go to bed, again, you're causing the sleep process to be uprooted a little bit. But we need to sleep in order to make repairs to our muscles, to the molecules in our body. That's when the body repairs itself. That's that rest and relaxation is actually coming to fruition, and everything that went on that day, now I have a chance to repair everything. So sleep is super critical. Eating late, alcohol, a lot of stress, a lot of, if you're looking at your tablet, your iPad, your computer, your cell phone, that hour before you're going to bed, you're again creating a lot of blue light intensity that may create some problems. Hydration. Being adequately hydrated prevents muscle cramps, headaches, and more. Hydration is a thing that we have control over. I'm sitting here at the computer deal, and I got my water. Sometimes it's tea, but hydration is something we need to do on a regular basis. If you're not going to the bathroom a half a dozen times a day, maybe there's something wrong with your hydration protocol. Ergonomic environment, your workspace. You want a workspace that I'm not reaching over to grab something over here. I'm not looking back up over there to read something. So if I want to be able to have an ergonomic environment, something that is planned where I really reduce the risk of injury, maybe to my wrist, my back, my neck, whatever it may happen to be. I look at where things are at. Are they easy to get to? Is my posture okay? A lot of things that I'm looking at in my work environment. Posture. Are we conscious about our posture? If not, and we're bent over and we keep that for years, decades, we're going to end up with nerve damage, disc herniation, spinal arthritis, skeletal pain, a lot of issues because of repeated abuse of not being able to keep a good, nice, straight posture. So if you're sitting there and you're bent over, you're typing, take that extra moment, sit up, kind of stretch back a little bit, and be aware that, okay, I need to keep my head up a little bit more. Anyway, it's a consciousness. Those are the things that we need to do there. Stress management. One of those things that we should be doing almost hourly, at least several times a day, but most of us don't. It can be something as little as smiling, laughing, but take that deep breath, hold it. Doesn't have to be very long, 20 seconds, a minute, maybe longer. But that calms down the body, calms down our blood pressure, reduces a lot of things. Meditation, yoga. There's a lot of things that are related to stress, pain, tension headaches, neck aches. So if you're maintaining your stress, managing it properly, you're reducing the likelihood that you're going to have a stress-related pain issue. So you're preventing pain from being a headache, from being a neck ache, from being a shoulder ache, lower back problem, lots of issues there. Speaking of lower back problems, believe it or not, smoking has a tendency to create lower back issues. I don't know why. It's just one of those things I found in the research, and more than one place. It wasn't just a single one. But smoking also can create abdominal pain, joint pain. But more importantly, smoking increases your pain sensitivity. So that if you take the exact same injury, two people, one's a smoker, one isn't, all else being equal, the person who is a smoker is going to perceive more pain associated with that injury, trauma event than somebody who's not a smoker. We've been talking about weight, fat, pain, lots of different things, but weight seems to be the major program today that we've been talking about. But weight management. If you have that extra 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds that you're carrying around, it's going to create a problem. You're going to have stress on your bones, on your joints. Arthritis is a very good likelihood. You're going to have lower back issues, herniated discs, pinched nerves. Just weight creates lots and lots and lots of problems. And I've known some very healthy people that are 50 pounds overweight. They can do almost anything. But again, it's that extra weight carried for decades, and that becomes a problem. So if I'm looking at trying to prevent something that's going to happen 20 years down the road, then weight management becomes something within my purview that, okay, I can tolerate maybe 20 pounds overweight. Don't want it, but I can tolerate it. But I can't tolerate 50 pounds overweight. That's something that my body will not adapt to over time. Regular checkups. If I have a regular health physical, I'm screened for various diseases, my blood tests, all the other x-rays and everything people do. I know where I'm at this point in time. If something changes, I can go back and say, at that point in time, everything was fine. So it happened between here and here. I've told many people over the course of these shows that I do that I have not missed an annual physical since 1968. That was when I did I've had them prior to that, but not every single year. But at that point in time, I was getting ready to go in the military. So I had an aviation physical, 31 years of flying, 31 years in the aviation field. I had to have a physical every year, 16 years of flying. But I had one as soon as I got out of the military in 1999. I continued with my regular physicals with my doctor. I always ask for extra screening way above and beyond what is normally required. I ask for C-reactive protein, homocysteine, and other tests so that I know where I'm at. And sometimes the insurance covers it, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's what it is. I want to know where I'm at with regard to my health. Regular checkups is going to give you that. I mentioned at the end of the last show, being able to get a scale that has the little electrical pads at the bottom. You stand on barefoot, and it's going to read 10, 15 or more different aspects of your body's profile. It may be visceral fat, it may be uh, uh, skeletal mass, bone mass, lots of different things. So a 20, 30, $40 investment, it goes to your phone, it's recorded. Now you have something you've taken every week, every month, every 2 weeks, whatever. You end up going to the doctor and say, well, here's how my visceral fat has been reduced over the last 16 months. Lots of things are available. We just don't know about it. Injury prevention. If we look at using the right kind of safety equipment, we follow the safety guidelines. We have somebody there to back up. I used to be able to climb up on a small ladder or a step stool and just go do things myself. Nowadays, my wife is behind me, and if she's doing something like that, I'm behind her. It's not that either one of us is going to fall off, but you never know when all of a sudden you turn your head, you get a little dizzy, things happen, you can't figure out what's going on, you can't grab a hold of something. Having that backup person there is critical. Understanding what you're doing and what you're doing it. I mean, I can't tell you how many bags of fertilizer and mulch and things like that I've taken out of the trunk of my car, boom, boom, just year after year. And I remember one time I had taken out 4 or 5 out, and I just go over there just as lackadaisical as can be. I reach in and I grab and yank in the lower part of my back that irritated me for months. So it's paying attention. If you're lifting something, pay attention to what you're doing. Hygiene, infection control, obviously. If you let something become septic, you're going to end up with a lot of problems. So if you're washing your hands regularly, you're taking advantage of the proper kind of infection control, you're reducing a possibility of something happening in the future. Okay, stretching, flexibility, and I'm saying concentration in that area. As we get older, we're finding that being able to stand on one foot, and it becomes more difficult. Try it. You stand next to something so you don't fall over, and just stand on one foot. How well can you do it for 1 minute, 2 minutes? This didn't become fully aware to me until I had knee surgery several years ago. All of a sudden, I'm trying to stand on the leg that I had the knee surgery on, and I'm serious. I could not stand on that leg for more than a half a second. I eventually got it back up to over a minute, but it took a lot of concentration, a lot of muscle focus to get that my 2 legs back to being somewhere near equal, where if I stood on my left leg by itself and my right leg, I'm still looking at a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes on each without a problem. But if I'm stretching properly, I have my flexibility, I'm minimizing any joint mobility issues that I might have in the future. I'm minimizing any kind of muscle tension issues because I'm taking that stretching, that flexibility exercise and applying it now so that down the road I don't have that problem. Sometimes we go out for a walk. Okay, I want to start walking. I go out and the first mile is not a problem. And I do it every day. I increase it to 1.5 miles, 2 miles, not a problem. Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden I start having an ankle problem, a shin problem. And this, whether you're running or walking, there's a lot of things that can happen to your legs, your hips, your ankles, and most of them are preventable. But you got to start at the first end, just like I talked about injury prevention up there with the right safety equipment. If you're doing some exercise, such as running or walking, make sure you have the right kind of footwear, something that's comfortable, something that supports you the way it should be. A lot of times with the plantar fasciitis, you wake up one morning, you get out of bed, and all of a sudden you get all sorts of pain in your foot. Those things are all controllable, but you have to know in advance what to look for and what you can do to change it. Medication management, that may not sound like much, but if you're on a prescription drug, let's say for diabetes, or maybe another one for high blood pressure, or maybe another one for something else, there may be some issues with that you need to be aware of. If one of them, say, is vomiting and diarrhea, and all of a sudden you have an increased rate of vomiting and diarrhea, and you look at your prescription meds, okay, that's probably that one. But if it's lasting for a long period of time and there's nothing in any of the medicines that you're taking, maybe it's time to talk to somebody. So just because you're taking medicine doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get all of the side effects they say. Sometimes you'll get some, sometimes you won't. But look at the prescription drugs you're taking. Know the side effects from them. know what the contraindications are. In other words, if I'm taking this diuretic and I'm taking this antidepressant, I can't take the two of those together because they're contraindicated. That's not what the medical industry wants you to do. If you can't get in touch with your doctor, go to your local pharmacist. They have amazing amount of information that they're willing to share. Heat and cold therapy when injured, get it on right away. Physical therapy down the road to manage and prevent pain. There's a lot of physical therapy that if you're just doing it right, you're going to prevent pain in the future. I love massages. They get that muscle strain, that tension out of the way very, very rapidly. It's a lot of things can be done, and maybe all you need is that one massage a month. Maybe for others, if you're ending up with a lot of headaches, a lot of neck tension, it may be because of some of the things in your job. My daughter wears about a 40-pound vest because she's a deputy sheriff. She has her gun and all the rest of that stuff that she carries. She ends up with a lot of neck pain. Well, she gets in for a massage, boom, it's gone for 2 weeks. So a lot of things are dependent on what we do with our normal life. Sometimes some aspects of our pain perception is brought on by our ability to think, to cope. Well, there's a particular branch of psychology called cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's a lot of different parts of that. And it can be adapted for managing pain, the pain perception, not necessarily the pain itself. If I have a swollen joint in my hand, my wrist, my fingers, it's not going to change that there are other things that we need to do that. But the way my brain perceives that pain can be changed. And that's a very good aspect of that CBT, of being able to go in there and, well, what can I do to change my perception of pain? And these are things you can even do in advance before you even have that pain there. So a lot of good things to be said for that. Sometimes social support. And by this, I mean, something happens in our lives. A person dies, a person's injured, a person's going through a divorce. Lots and lots and lots of things. Your boss pisses you off. It doesn't matter what it is, but we need some level of social coping, something that we can talk to somebody on the phone, go over, have a cup of coffee with, a beer, whatever it may happen to be. But we have somebody we can share our emotional pain. It's kind of like your stress reduction. These are things that allows us to get in there and do that trade-off of, let me just kind of bare my soul to you. But that allows that. We talked about the pain perception in our brain. When I can share some of my pain with somebody, what was that expression that President Clinton, I can feel your pain. Basically, there's a lot to be said in the coping part of our grieving processes, any kind of emotional pain that we have, that if we have the ability to share it with someone else, that is really and truly super important. As with cognitive behavioral therapy and with social support, any kind of mind-body practice, something that promotes our mental and emotional health, because the perception of pain we have when we know what's going on can be addressed. I mean, you have the exact same pain, but all of a sudden when it's being processed in the brain, it goes through that little gate in the back of our neck, gets into our brain, the perception of what that pain really is can be changed. And that's what the beauty of a lot of these awareness programs that we have is, if I can change the perception and it's just a matter of doing something, wouldn't that be nice that I no longer have that really sharp pain? Maybe it's dull, maybe it's intermittent, maybe it goes away, but that's what I want to do with my pain. So there are some natural pain reliefs that you ought to have in your house: curcumin, turmeric, boswellia, cloves, fish oil, resveratrol. If you don't have them, at least get a couple of them. You never know when you're going to need them. I like whole fruit mangosteen juice, ginger, cayenne pepper, bromelain, green tea. All of those things are very, very good at addressing pain at its onset and for treating pain after it's already there. We've talked about these in earlier episodes here about each one of the way pain is created and what you can do to address the actual physical process of the one chemical to the next, to the next, to the next. So if I can shut it down at the arachidonic acid level before it gets to cyclooxygenase 2, I've done a major portion in my pain control, pain prevention. Our bodies make palmitoyl ethanolamide, PEA, if you're looking it up under the network, PEA, pain control by a pill. Our bodies make it. We just don't make as much of it as we used to. A lot of essential oils are very, very, very good for pain treatment. So everyone doesn't have everyone is not the same with pain, but awareness, education, and being able to take the right action is going to make a difference. So wrapping things up here, the USA Global TV and Radio Network is on YouTube. The archives, go there, go to the playlist, go to Talking Heads, Red O'Loughlin, and you'll be able to find all the topics that we talked on the last year and a half, 2 years, from heart health, nutrition, stress, toxins, fat management, weight management, lots and lots and lots of things on longevity, lifestyle. Those things are there and available. So please make use of it. And you can reach me at red or redolaughlin.com, my website, red, R-E-D, O'Loughlin, OLAUGHLIN.com. And in my banner, I have my phone number, my email address, all that stuff is found there. But with regard to my books, No Matter What You Can Do, it talks about the subconscious mind, what you can do, not do to be in control of your life. The Joy of Ageless Health talks about the 5 or 6 primary causes of disease at the cellular level. What can you do to accelerate or decelerate the disease process? Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging talks about the 2 primary causes of aging, what you can do also to accelerate or decelerate the aging process. Understanding the Cause of Alzheimer's and the Essential New Author's Guide are also available on Amazon. Catch you all next week. Thank you very much. Bye now.
This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event. This program is also brought to you in part by Ella Holly, artist and singer of the single Things That We Do.